Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Black and Abroad, an interview series highlighting the lived experiences of Black expats around the world. I am Kendall Tyson, your host. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm an educator, finishing up my 14th year in education, and I am a fellow Black expat. We have a great discussion in store for you today. So I would like to welcome our Black Educators Abroad panel to Black and Abroad, and I'll give everyone the opportunity to introduce themselves. So whoever wants to go first.
I guess I'll start.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ronnie, and I have been teaching abroad since 2015. I've traveled to about 13 countries, and I'm currently in Australia.
Awesome. How long have you been in Australia?
A total of 4 years.
Oh,
I was
wow.
here 2 years, and then I worked in China. And then as I was flying back here for a 2-week break, that's when the borders shut and I wasn't able to fly back.
Yeah.
So I've been here ever since, but I'm about to hit the road soon, hopefully. So.
No bad, for sure. Thank you, Ronnie. Anyone else?
Okay, I'll go next. Gina Nelson, originally from Hartford, Connecticut, have been living in the UAE since 2014, but I've been abroad in and out of the US since 2006, and earlier in China.
Oh, wow. Okay, so where were you in China?
I worked in Suzhou and also Wuhan.
Okay, fabulous. Welcome, Gina.
Thank you.
So running out, my name's Alan Bradshaw. I currently live in Beijing, China. I've been teaching abroad since 2018. It'll be my 4th year in August or September.
Fabulous. So I am Kendall, the host, obviously. I have been teaching, well, I'm not teaching. I've been working abroad in education. I'm a counselor, a therapist. I'm really just giving my bio all over again, right? But I've been working in Beijing since 2018. My China-versary, what we call it out here, is August 7th, 2018. So I'm rounding out my 4th year. I'll probably be here for maybe 2 more years, and I'm gonna repatriate back to the US just to go somewhere else, maybe like Mexico, but definitely Portugal. So everybody in Portugal, hey y'all, I'm coming. Just I promise you, I'm on my way. But yeah, I want to thank everyone. We might have some more people popping in later. I'm really big on honoring individuals' time. So I just want to thank you for answering the call to participate in this, what I consider an amazing discussion. One of the major reasons that I wanted to do Black and Abroad was because we have very detailed, we have very intriguing stories as Black people of the diaspora that live literally all over the world. And I know that we hear this term often, representation matters. And so I believe that people being able to see us living our best lives in various parts of the world kind of gives them permission or an opportunity to be able to see and visualize themselves doing the same. Because I wonder, how did each of you learn about the education opportunities abroad? Y'all you can keep mics on.
Okay, no problem.
My bad. Yeah.
You're fine. How did each of you all learn about your educational opportunities abroad?
Were you going first?
I'll go first.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go first. Mine's is really quick. Essentially, so I learned about it when I ended a relationship. In my last relationship, well, not last, but my last relationship in the US, and I quit my job at the time which is like a online real estate property company. And this guy just reached out to me. He said, "Hey, do you want to teach abroad in China?" And I was like, "I have no educational background." He was like, No, it's cool. We'll get you all the like experience you need. We'll do the certification, all of this and that. You just need to, pass this and this and this, and you can come."
Wow. So the ending of one thing is always the beginning of something else.
Beginning, yes,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. Thank you, Alan. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually ended up in the UAE specifically, just doing a random search actually on the internet. I was delayed in the US because of a family emergency and started doing a research all over the internet and found Teachaway, which is an organization based out of Toronto, Canada. And they had opportunities in the UAE. At first, I was like, the UAE, don't know anything about the Middle East, but decided to apply and come.
And the rest is history.
Yes.
Awesome. Ronnie?
Well, I was in the US and I knew I wanted to live abroad. After visiting multiple countries, just going like 2 weeks, because I was teaching and I would go 2 weeks, just for breaks and vacations. And I wanted to live abroad. So I'm like, well, how can I get myself abroad? So then I just started doing my research, and then I was like, okay, what certifications do I need? And I saw the CELTA program, so I did that. And then afterwards, my resume started ringing like a Christmas tree, just bling, 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 lots of opportunities.
Wow.
But I couldn't go right then and there because it's not just me, I have a family. So once my family moved abroad and we moved to Australia, I didn't have my visa at the time. So I was like, okay, well, I can't stay here and not work. So where can I go?
Yeah.
And then I started applying in China. I'm like, okay, China's kind of right there. It's not too far. So I put in an application and got accepted, and that was it.
Wow. So very different stories. I would say mine, very unconventional. I've always wanted to live abroad since I was young. My first major in college, I went to the University of Texas. I majored in international business. I wanted to be an international attorney. And we had a partner program with a school in Barcelona. So Barcelona was the place that I knew I was gonna go. But God has other plans, right? So I changed my major, marketing. This is my third career actually as a therapist, a business owner, educator, what I'm supposed to be doing. But in the heat of wanting to transition, I had, at one point I was an administrator and a teacher that worked on my team. We're still really good friends now. She and her husband moved abroad. And a few years later, she's like, so you ready to come abroad or not? We got a position open. I had finished my counseling degree. I finished my licensure. I was ready to move to another city. Didn't know it was going to be another country. And I was just like, well, no, the first time she reached out, I was almost done. I wasn't done. And y'all know us, we can't do anything if it's not done to completion. So I was like, well, I'm not done yet. When I'm finished, hit me up. So the next year, again, all right, this council position is open. Are you coming? Okay, cool. Let me apply. Let me send you my stuff, send you my resume. I honestly had my interview over Skype with her boss, my former boss, while they were on layover in Tanzania. Had another interview the following week. And this is nothing but God. I got the job as I was doing one of my small groups with my group of boys at my school on my mother's birthday. I got the email and I was just like, okay, so this is meant to happen. And it felt right. Did y'all experience like any trepidation or fear, or was it just like, okay, cool, it's a new move?
Okay, I'll start this one. I was terrified. The scared wasn't the word. I was beyond scared. I was like, what did I just do? Like signing the contract. I don't know about this place. I was looking at YouTube videos. And it was actually 3 days where I really just couldn't sleep. I felt like I was in a daze. I was that scared. So it was seriously scary for me, but I did it. What got me on the plane was the fact that if I didn't like it, I had my own money and I would fly myself back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I won't say that I was necessarily terrified, but not knowing the Middle East, and because the customs are so different from the US,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I would fit in. And in fact, most of my friends said, leave those tight skirts home, leave those short stuff home. So yeah, but it ended up being wonderful. But I have to share that when I first arrived, I actually cried my first day because I was like, what am I doing here? When I landed and someone picked me up from the airport and I was in the hotel room by myself, I was like, what am I doing here? I got over it really quickly, and it's been a wonderful experience 8 years later.
Wow. Wait, you've been over there 8 years?
8 years, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, that is amazing. What about you, Alan?
Oh no, I was definitely scared. Actually, I was nervous. So I had gotten my visa, I think the week before I came here. Like literally it was like so close to the deadline. And actually I temporarily went back to the ex that I had broken up with because I was just like, maybe this isn't for me. And then actually the job that I applied for before like the EF came back to me, they had to respond and say, hey, we have this great HR position. If you want it, you can take it. Because I was wanting to transition to HR. But yeah, he was like, no, you need to go. If you don't do this, you'll regret it. It's only a year. And that year turned into almost 4 years now. And yeah, I guess it was just meant to be.
Yeah, of course. I think it sounds as if, I know, especially for China, people are always like, the time that you think you'll be there, go ahead and extend it, because it always works out to folks being here. I know one of my friends was like, well, I only thought I was going to be here for 2 years. I've been here 14. And I'm like, okay, that won't be me, but I'm glad that it works out, you know, in the way that it has. I have a question before we get into the actual questions. How has this opportunity or these opportunities allowed you? I'm learning more about this thing called the FIRE movement, the financial independence, retire early. A lot of that's been coming into my consciousness and my space. And I'm wondering, how have these opportunities of living abroad been able to help you put yourself on a different like financial path, retirement path, if those are things that you're interested in?
Actually, I started to actually open like investment funds and savings funds when I moved, like before, because I moved here when I was 26. I'm 30 now. No, I was 25, going in like 30 now. And I didn't even think about it. I was like, retirement plan? Why do I need a retirement plan? I'm 20, 25. I'm like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
And after like 2 years later, I'd say like either last year or the year before, I started actually having a savings account. Honestly, because the pandemic, because I was like, God, you can't find a job right now. No one wants to hire you. So I was like, I need to, after I got my next job, I just started saving. Then I started opening investment accounts, and I was like, I want to buy my house when I'm 35 or at least 38. And I'm on my way to doing that. So that's nice.
Congratulations. So it sounds again as if the
Thank
uncertainty
you.
that the world has been facing kind of helps to shake you, to help you to resort your priorities.
Immediately. Real quick.
I think that was for everybody. That's actually when I started my YouTube channel, is when COVID hit. I was home for Christmas. Was that Christmas? No, that was Chinese New Year. I was home for Chinese New Year. COVID hit. My flight got canceled and my anxiety spiked. I was just like, okay, what am I doing with myself? I'm in my parents' house for 9 months. I have to be productive. How do I utilize these skills? Working 13-hour difference. It was terrible. But then it's like, out of this discomfort, out of this uncertainty, because I don't know when I had just got a new job before I came home for Chinese New Year, thank God, at the school that I'm at currently. I was just like, okay, I got to do something to kind of help myself because I feel like I'm going crazy. What am I going to do? And that's when starting this, trying to help people through my own struggle to kind of be able to ease themselves out of theirs. But in that, it's like, all right, so how am I saving money? I've always been good about saving money, but it's just been different with all of this happening. The level of independence that the lifestyle that we have provides us, at least for me, I've paid off so much debt and try not to reacquire it. And, really looking at, I know that living abroad is going to be a part of my life forever. I may not necessarily live in another country forever. I might do it part-time, but what does that look like? So I kind of get the sense for myself that there's just a level of permission and freedom and like so many open doors that we're able to walk through because of this experience that we've been able to take. So ladies, do either of you would like to respond?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, I have to tell people, if you're coming to the UAE, you can actually rack up debt so easily. I live in Abu Dhabi, but Dubai is just down the road. Glitzy, glam, everything. You could spend your money every weekend going to brunches, hanging out. So one of the things, I didn't know I was going to be here 8 years. I thought I was only going to be here for 1 year. 1 year renewable contract is what I originally had. And literally, if it wasn't for a conversation I overheard in a car one day, I probably would have just been spending and traveling. And the traveling has been great. I've been to 54 countries now. So it's been amazing since being here. Since being here, I've been to 14 new countries. So because you're literally in the middle of the world. But my recommendation is find a financial advisor as soon as you get here. I now have one and I've been doing investing. So it's working out well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we have a level of privilege that maybe the local communities that are in the countries that we live don't necessarily have access to. Our expenses are paid, housing is paid, and then you have this influx of cash, and it's just like, if you don't know how to manage that emotionally and have a plan, like you said, Gina, it can get out of hand very quickly, because there have been many months that I have had to tap into my US savings because I was just spending. What about you, Ronnie?
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback off of that really quickly, because when I first got to China, oh my God, everything is so cheap. The hotel stays, the fruit, you can walk right down there. Everything was so cheap. So I was like, all of that at first was I went out the window. I couldn't believe how, you can get on the fast speed train and everything that you can do, everything was just right there. Everything was fast, and I could live the life of luxury at such a cheap rate. So I kind of went berserk a little bit, but after a while, you kind of settle in and you reel it back in and kind of get focused. So, it was difficult at first.
Huh?
It's difficult because it's just like, whoa, that's it. That's all it costs. And you're staying in like top quality hotels. This is what I like. This is what I love to do.
5-star only.
Go to the hotel, travel everywhere. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's difficult.
It is. It's kind of like, I don't know, coming from the US.
The prices shocked you. It shocked me.
And the access is different.
Yeah.
It's just so much more access. And that doesn't mean that it's without like racism. It's just different though. It's like you got to have a whole nother paradigm shift, a whole nother mindset shift to, I'll say this, obviously one, be Black and living in another country that doesn't have a predominantly Black population, really have a strong sense of self and priorities. Coming here and just being here, it's kind of, I sometimes feel like that would be wasting the opportunity that is before you, but that's just me and my therapist mindset. I don't know, but let me get into one of these questions. Even though all the things that we talked about so far are very important. So we talked about kind of like your pathways abroad. Tell me, what is it that you appreciate most about being an educator, an expat educator?
I would
I
say,
guess I'll start.
go ahead.
Oh.
Yep, go ahead, Ronnie. Good.
Just really quickly, I guess being someone that students who literally never saw a person like me, or never met a person like me before, and this has happened in China, of course, and
Yeah.
Australia. How weird is that?
Really?
So, and yep, the universities, yep. And there was a student that came up and he liked me as a teacher, and he was just felt comfortable in saying that, you're the first African-American that I've met, like in real life, that I haven't seen on television. And this was here in
Wow.
Australia. That was a little shocking, like, wow.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So just being that positive person that people can like see, and they can see what we really are. We're not all basketball players and singers, and every time hip hop music plays, we're not ready to dance and whatever. It's not like that. We're just like you. We just have more melanin in our skin, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yes. I think we all have the same story, right?
Well, I have the advantage of living obviously in a country where everyone's brown. So, people from UAE are typically brown. So
Yeah.
we don't experience the racism at all. And it's not different for them to see an American. In fact, we were actually heavily recruited as Americans. I would say as Americans, people who are coming from the UK and Australians are heavily recruited here to help with their whole educational reform system. So it's not different in that sense, but they definitely welcome Americans. Yeah, and they do a lot of heavily recruiting, surprisingly, like in Atlanta. So
Really?
yeah, and I think because as Black women and Black men teaching, we typically have very strong foundations in terms of discipline.
Yeah.
And then the boys over here, they're all over the place.
Listen, I heard. I actually thought about a job in Abu Dhabi, and I was like, people were like, don't take it place here. I also wonder, when I think about that, the whole, Black and the correlation with discipline, I also believe that there is a heavy emphasis on relationship building, because you cannot discipline people in an empathetic manner that you do not have a relationship with, and there be progress made out of that. So I think our abilities, I'm wondering, y'all let me know, our abilities to be able to connect, because most Black and brown people I know, and that doesn't exclude anybody else, are very relationship centered. Like, we're relational people. We learn from people that we like, we learn from people that we trust, and that we feel like we have a connection with. And I think that goes a long way. Like, that emotional intelligence, that social capital goes a long way in the communities that we're able to serve. So that's just my thought. I mean, Alan, do you want to share before we move on?
I was just gonna say, just like Ronnie, kind of like just having like a brown Black face, and then just like she said, like not being Kobe Bryant or not being a Beyonce, just being like not being compared. Yeah, it's like I don't want to be compared to these people. I mean, like I love these people; these are truly inspiring people. But like you were saying, the Black diaspora is wide and it's not a monolith. And I feel like since moving here, that idea of us not being a monolith has been reiterated again and again and again. And then I do appreciate that my young Chinese or Asian students, like sometimes they feel more comfortable with me than their own parents, because their own parents just maybe not even around, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say for me, what I really appreciate is obviously some of y'all just getting to know me, some of y'all know me. It's the importance of being able to help break stigmas when it comes to mental health. So coming from in this packaging, speaking loudly and boldly about how do we promote mental health, break the stigma, build community in this sense, and creating a platform for people to feel safe to do that, I think has been one of the things that I appreciate most about being here. As a Black woman currently working in a British school, it's challenging everyday culture-wise for me. But I know that there's, I think, a level of acceptance when it comes to hearing the message of mental health, giving people permission to be open and share their story, knowing that it can be okay, knowing that you're not alone and that you have someone that's not judging you. And again, they get the opportunity to experience a different culture and have a similar cultural understanding when it comes to being a Black or brown person. And a framework of, well, these are the types of issues that I deal with in my family when it comes to mental health that you've experienced too. So you've been able to get to this point, so maybe I can too. And really helping them to kind of see that like there's a path when you leave here. Because as for some of the Asian students that I have, you are of the majority here. That's great. But you're trying to go to countries that you aren't. That's a shift. So being able to help them to kind of be a bit more forward thinking and how are you going to take care of yourself? That's something I totally appreciate about being here and the work that I'm able to do in the populations that I serve. So yeah, if y'all have follow-ups, please feel free, to chime in. That's the whole point of this particular discussion. I would say, so here's one of the questions that was posed to me and when people signed up. Well, I want to say that this is April. What is today? April 16th. April is Stress Awareness Month. And we know research says that workplaces are some of the largest sources of people's stress. So one of the questions that was posed is, what is one thing your employer can do to make your work environment feel safe or comfortable for you to continue to work there? That is a loaded and really good question. So who would like to begin the descent into this answer?
I'll start. I think one of the things that, because I work for a rather large school and there's like, I think it said like close to 1,000 staff members.
Oh, wow.
At our school. Yeah, it's a big school, like 1,000 faculty members, like 5,000 students. So it's a big school. But I think something that I really would appreciate if they would be interested in, is like having maybe more like company functions where people get to know each other. Because I still feel like I don't know half my faculty members. They don't know me. A lot of times I just get confused with the two other Black guys at my school. They'll be like, oh, Alan. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, no, I could understand that.
Yeah.
For me,
I'll piggyback. Okay.
go ahead, Matthew. Okay, sorry, I'll go this time and we'll switch. Okay, so for me, interesting enough about our culture. So I don't know how much everyone knows about Arabic culture and Islamic culture. So they have this expression, inshallah, which means if God wills it.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful in one sense because it's like, okay, you have to be really patient, exercise your patience. But then on the other hand, when it comes to the work environment, we get so much pressure because there've been I'm in the managerial level. So we have so many shifts every single day and everything is top urgent. So I think for us, a lot of training around people who are in admin around, just prioritizing. That's one, because not everything is top urgent. And it does cause, I'll be honest, it's been a stressful job, especially since COVID. It's been extremely stressful for me. And one of the things I noticed I've had to do personally is just set boundaries. So really be clear about the boundaries. I'm not going to answer a call at 10. I'll easily get a call from my line manager at 10 p.m. on a evening, and I don't pick up. And I'll address it the next day and say, if nothing's burning down, no one's going to the hospital, it can honestly wait. So for us, I think also teaching individuals that there are times we all need time for ourselves, our mental health, to tend to our family, whatever. But for me, it's been important to set boundaries. I'll be honest.
Yes, thank you. I agree with that. Like, my time is precious. And if you want me to show up to work and be my best self, This is my cutoff. Go ahead, Ronnie. You had a comment?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna piggyback off of what Alan said. It's because when I was in China, all of us teachers, we just kind of formed our own little groups and kind of met up together. It wasn't, administration really didn't have much to do with that. So of course, it would be more helpful if they would create opportunities for teachers to get to know one another or whatever, but for the most part over there, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah,
Mm.
My experience.
okay. Thank you for sharing that. I would also say, just in my perspective as one of the counselors at my school and as a professional that works with a lot of educators, one of the things that I used to serve on a well-being committee that's shifted is, depending on where you are working in the culture of your school, one of the things I think is really important is to acknowledge and take action on, you know, how we do this, the surveys at the end of the year, employee perception surveys, things of that nature, to look at what the common pain points are and allow teachers to help formulate solutions to those pain points. So many people that I met and myself personally feel sometimes as if y'all ask us for this, but does it really matter? So how do schools take into account and demonstrate that well-being is important, that boundary setting is important, that creating opportunities for connection and understanding and empathy and learning one another, building a community is important? Because one of the challenges about moving abroad is that you spend a lot of time at work, and if you aren't unable to foster healthy connections, I'm not saying that you go to work to make friends, because I know that I don't, but in the event that you connect with people that way, that's great. But because you spend so much time at work, how are you creating an environment that promotes balance, sets boundaries, makes it important, emotional intelligence and cultural understanding? We work in international schools, but the research states that a lot of international schools aren't very culturally sensitive, depending on where you are. So I would say, as a mental health professional, educating, providing people to come in, providing services for staff to be able to take care of themselves, engage in community, symposiums about well-being, and taking their honest opinions and thoughts into consideration when you're formulating programs and processes for the prior year, like the coming year. I would suggest that those be some things that schools do. Like, I do not want to, one of the questions that I have when I do look for other employment is, what does a school do to promote staff well-being, balance, and reduce burnout? Because if that's not an active thing that you're engaged in, that's not a place that I want to be. So what I did say was, when I'm looking for places to work, it is asking them, what are your policies? What does the school do to promote staff well-being, to help reduce burnout, and to create like work-life balance? And if the answer for me is not satisfactory, then I choose not to go there. Yeah, even internationally. Can everyone hear me?
Kendall, your bandwidth is still low. It's going in and out. I think you said, what are they doing to prevent burnout?
Yes, and promote
work-life balance. Is that what you said?
I don't know what's happening with my internet. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Okay, yeah, it's going in. No, I think that's a good question. I'll share what we've done because as I mentioned, I'm in administration. So we did quite a bit as middle leaders. We did quite a bit in terms of collecting surveys. We did it on our own, and no one gave us any kind of permission to do so, but we thought it was important. So during COVID, we did do some qualitative surveys, sent it out to the teachers, individuals who we consider our middle leaders. And we got that data back, and the same thing, everyone's saying they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, etc. Nothing was being done at the school to address work-life balance. So we decided as middle leaders to actually create a well-being series. And we started it, we started meeting during COVID, like I would say like around May, in the thick of things. And then the next year we implemented it. And first it was just a drop-in time period. We gave teachers, we said, come in. They just came in. They brought their coffee. We literally call it a coffee chat. They came in. There was no kind of structure initially. They would just share what they're doing the weekend, highlight from the week, etc. And then we started providing a little more structure because we said, okay, we want this to really benefit individuals. So we did another survey, asked individuals what topics they were interested in.
Yes, I'll go next.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Well,
Thank you for sharing though, Gina.
me, what I did was I just hung out with people that I liked, you know, the teachers that I liked. I got to know the students. I was just kind of open to the whole experience. I started learning the language a little bit. And everything over there, since, you know, English is not the language, everything for me was, is an experience, right? So, I mean, it was overwhelming for a minute, but it's like you're in there with other teachers, you're all going through the same thing. You hang out with the teachers that you like and you vibe with, and you go out, and we hung out and we had lots of fun together. And then I love the food where I was.
Where, in China or Australia?
China. Well, I mean,
Okay.
the food here is good too. You know, I'm in Melbourne, so the coffee's off the chain, and the food in Wuxi was just fabulous. Fabulous. I loved it. So just get in there, you know, like whoever you vibe with, hang out with them. Make sure that, for me, one rule was to always hang out with people that enjoyed the experience.
Yeah.
Not to hang out with people complaining. Stay away from those people. The people that are enjoying themselves, hang out with them, because that energy, you know, you'll catch on to that energy. And that's what I did. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
No problem.
My thing about burnout, actually recently I kind of have to like hit a reset button because I think because of the stress between work, and then like I'm also applying for schools for my master's degree here in China, and then also back home in the US. I just had a recent incident where my blood pressure hit an all-time high. Like, don't really have any history of like having family with hypertension. Well, my mom said it was my grandmother, but my mom and my dad, athletes, never had problems. And I think now I just have, what's really important is setting quiet time to yourself. Like you said, going back to setting boundaries and like maintaining like a healthy work-life balance, which I don't think my company is really promoting, like my school is really promoting, but I've seen other staff members just come into the office and they just look like the soul has literally left their body.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you recognized that while you don't have a family history of high blood pressure, there has to be some sort of precipitating event or situation, an antecedent for that to happen. And it sounds as if where you are right now, trying to progress, which happens, like stress is not the issue, right? We all have stress. But when you notice that it's more intense than your level to cope, that's a problem. And if you notice that it's affecting work, relationships, you know, and how you're being able to deal on a daily basis, those are some red flags that I think a lot of people don't really pay attention to. And I'll just say it, as Black people, we like to push through. And sometimes in the communities that we're working in, there's this, I'll speak for myself for sure, there's an unconscious yet sometimes conscious need to prove myself. I'm professional, especially when you have certain work trauma. And I do have, you know, work trauma that even as a professional, I'm still trying to process. So there's like this, no, I can't let people see that I'm struggling. I don't want people to question my competence.
Yep.
All these things that get in the way. And that leads to burnout, that leads to dissatisfaction at work, that leads to not necessarily doing your best. And we know that that can lead to negative health outcomes. So these are some strategies. I work with lots of educators when it comes to dealing with burnout, identifying what does it look like, and being able to heal from it. I just sent something in the chat that I just made the other day that y'all can take with you. But for those that are watching, these are some ways in which to heal from burnout. And what that is just an extreme amount of stress that leads to like work dissatisfaction, cynicism. You tend to have like work refusal. You're really not showing up as your best self, right? And one of the most important things is to assess your values. What you value as far as work and professionalism, is that in alignment with where you are? And if not, that's an open door for you to be able to do some recalibration, some reflection, maybe make some plans about what it does look like for your professional future. And another thing is to practice gratitude. Everything can't be going wrong, right? I think Gina stated that where she is, everything can be seen to be urgent. But there's this term, this phrase that if everything's urgent, nothing's really urgent. And being able to prioritize what are the most important things happening professionally, personally in your life. And so another thing that people can do is to engage in healthy social connection. I know that Ronnie has spoken in depth about that. And it's really important. We are social creatures. We need to be able to engage with others. That helps us out of depression, that helps us ease our anxiety. And one thing that Ronnie, you did say was hanging around the right people, because that energy is palpable, right? It is easy to be energized by people that are looking for the bright side, are positive, not toxically positive, but it's also easy to take on that negative energy. Like cynicism is, what is the word I'm looking for? It is contagious.
It's contagious, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's key to like assess your circle. Another one would be to devote time to your hobbies. We live in countries where there's always something to do. So if that's getting out in nature, if that's learning how to do pottery, knitting, hiking, whatever it is that's going to help you to get out, get involved, connect with yourself, be creative, have fun, that's going to help you heal from burnout. One of the ones that makes them, it sounds so easy, but it's so difficult sometimes, is getting good sleep. 8 hours of good sleep and eating a healthy diet. Those are gold standard. And scheduling regular time for exercise, at least 3 times a week, at least 30 minutes a day. That can be walking to work. That can be so many things. So just being really intentional about the way that you are engaging in life is going to help you to heal from burnout, from, stress, and all of the stuff that can impair your professionalism and your personal life when it comes to being an expat abroad. I think we have to do a lot more work in that regard, because we're not at home. We don't have the accoutrements or creature comforts or access to family and friends like we would if we were back home, right? So we have to figure out, what does that look like? And here's a question for you all. What does the concept of chosen family and community look like for you as educators working abroad?
I'll start this one off. It looks like, for me, so when I first moved here, going back to what you were talking about earlier, this idea of toxic positivity, which in turn means like people who try to show like just their this idea of faith. I don't know if you guys heard this, but like this idea of faith, and just like having like locals who are just positive, but they're positive for all the wrong reasons. Like they are just outwardly not showing their negativity because they worry about how they're being perceived, rather than having real life experiences in a moment And since moving here and learning about that, and then not only that, but also talking more to people who look like me, because having a Black face and communicating certain incidences and experiences is a relief. And then also on top of things being like, LGBTQ, like I have to find additional people
Right.
to relieve myself of like the stress of like being queer, which is also stressful in such a very conservative
Non-accepting
country as
country.
China.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
You said
Thank
that.
you.
For me here, interesting enough, although like a lot of, like I said, expats have come over to help with the educational system, what's so beautiful though about Arabic culture is they focus on relationship building. So they really, I mean, you could come in and they, the principals, I go in, as I told you, as a manager, I go into schools and you'll sit and have coffee, you'll have the Arabic coffee, the Turkish coffee, and that could take up a whole hour. And you're like, I haven't done anything yet. So it's actually taught me to like slow down a little bit. Although work, the task could be, coming at you, really quickly from the managerial side. But when it comes to the school and what's at the school level, it actually could be quite nice. And one of my colleagues said it the other day. She said, like right now it had been slow prior to the spring break. And she said, just enjoy this space, which I thought was really nice. She was like, just enjoy the time, enjoy the space, focus on something else, even though it doesn't seem like you're doing something that's meaningful to you, just enjoy that space. Yeah. So they really do a lot on relationship building as Arabic culture.
Yes. Listen, don't make me hop on a plane when we can travel to the UAE.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I guess for me, I think it's important to not hang out with people who are, like fake happy, insanely happy. Everything is just, oh, everything's just great. This is great. Like, no, stay away from those people. That's what I do. People who are just real. We can complain together.
Yeah.
And but we're still having fun. We find things to do and have fun. That's what's important. Not those, those insane types. It's like, oh yeah, everything. Like, no, relax, get out of here. That's not real.
Listen, I hear you. There's a thing, it's choosing to be happy, right? But in the doing of choosing to be happy does not mean that you deny how you feel if it's not happy. All emotions are important. All emotions are valuable, even the ones that feel uncomfortable. But I know in a cultural context, we all coming from a variety of cultures, even as Black people, the subcultures underneath that are even, different. So we don't necessarily know how other people have been raised or forbidden from showing emotion or given the opportunity to emote and be intelligent in that way. So it's really having a deep understanding of who you are, being able to set boundaries, and kind of knowing who are, Ronnie was saying, who are the people that I'm vibing with? What do I need when it comes to community and chosen family in these countries that we're living in? Because that's a protective factor. Being able to have a good, healthy community of support is going to help you through the difficult days that always show up. And I have, here's another question. If you notice, what time of year do you notice that your mood begins to shift and things get a little bit more challenging? Like, I know for me, it's around November. When Thanksgiving hits, the weather changes, I get seasonal affective disorder every year. And I have to be really intentional about taking care of myself from November to December, because that time of year is always difficult for me. So I'm wondering, if you all were to think about that, what do you notice?
So for me, I'll go first because I haven't gone first in a while. So for me, the weather doesn't change drastically here.
Right.
It's hot and then hotter as the year goes. But it is around November, December, because sometimes when we're not able to go home for whatever reason, you know, it's missing home, you're missing Thanksgiving, you're missing Christmas, you're missing all those holidays.
Yeah.
And then the year's ending. And so it's a reflection period for me as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are these moments where I have to check in with friends a little more often during that time as a support system.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
I guess for me, I love like November.
Lonnie, I think you're on mute.
Oh, hello?
No, I can hear you. There's just, it's a delay.
Okay, maybe it's me. Okay, sorry.
I'm so sorry about these technology gremlins today. Oh my goodness, they don't want us to be great, but we're gonna be great anyway.
Okay. Yeah, but you know, the first time this happened, this was like November, December, I was really getting depressed. That was when I was in Australia, because everything's backwards here. It's like summer. And I love winter. I love fall, spring. I don't like summer. I like winter. So it's like my favorite time of year, November, December, January. It's snowing or it's very cold. You get to wear your boots and scarves and everything. And here it's summer. So I was invited to a barbecue, a work barbecue. And this was, a few years ago. And I couldn't stay there. I was like, what is this? Like, it's December. No. And I just like in my head, I was just like, I can't do this. So, I mean, I had to leave. I was just like, I really felt depressed. I was really feeling down because I'm like, this is like blasphemy or something. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the word for it.
I mean, and I bet it has a lot to do with the fact that you're from Jersey and there's so much emotion connected to that time of year for you. And then to go somewhere where it is completely opposite.
It's my enemy, summer. I don't like it.
Listen, we from Texas, so the winter over here is brutal.
It's awful. I am not about that life. Like, and it's not, you know what really trips me out? It's cold, but there's nothing you're getting from it. Like, there's no snow, there's no like, you get this magic, all these pictures and stuff. You just get cold, blistering, dry, cold. Ooh.
Yeah. So tell me, how do y'all cope during these times of year? Like, what does that look like for you?
For me, so I said surrounding myself with friends during that time.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are a group of us that don't go home around December. I didn't go home this past December because I thought I was resigning from my job, and they've held me a little longer than normal. But I finally got my resignation papers, so I'll be going home soon. So
congratulations!
Yes, thank you. So yeah, so me, I'm always aware of it. So I just make sure I reach out to friends more. So I actually be more proactive in my relationships with my friends.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway,
one of the things I do, one thing I want to add that I do also, because I haven't gone home since COVID actually, is I also set times to meet with friends that are living across the world. So I'll set like a Zoom chat. So we'll do a chat and we'll set it at a certain date during the week. And that's been nice as well.
Listen, Zoom has made all the money since COVID hit. I don't know how many Zoom dates and parties and baby showers and birthdays and funerals, unfortunately, that I've been able to attend since COVID hit. But it really helps. It has helped me to conceptualize, that's my word for the year, is intentional. Be intentional, because you do not know what that next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months is going to look like, or if I can go somewhere. So for sure.
I was about to say something, I forgot.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
How do you cope?
I said boycott summer. So I went back to China.
What you gonna wear? A trench coat in Australia?
I was gonna say, Ronnie's trying to have cold girl summer over there.
Yeah, it's like when that happened, I just realized, I was like, I don't want to do this, because I was here for 2 years working, like in universities or whatever, and it was just like, nope. So I went back to China for about 2.5 years before, the whole pandemic.
Yeah.
I was like, boycott summer, nope. And so when it was summer in China, I would come here. When it was summer here, go back.
Yeah. Okay, so when the world was a bit more open, which I think the world
But
is
now,
opening up, but
yeah.
China is not.
Right.
No.
No, what I do now is what do I do now? Just what Gina said, as far as reaching out to family and friends. Very important.
Yeah.
Hang out to the people that make you feel like sunlight. That's it.
Yeah.
Avoid everyone else.
Ooh, I love that quote. Can you type that in the chat? Because I'm gonna use that in the group notes. I like that.
This is my phone. Let me see.
That is beautiful.
It was. Alan, you have a comment you want to add? But you already had?
No, I think everyone said it all. Just like reaching out to people, like Ronnie said, that make you feel like someone.
Yes, yes. We've talked about a lot. I would like to, I'm gonna get back to one of these questions that was posed. Y'all obviously know my lane is definitely mental health, right? And in the juxtaposition to being an expat. So I would say what's this question? This is a good one. How can someone who is Black, of the diaspora, working abroad, break the glass ceiling of starting with being a teacher? The person that posed this question, she was asked this by, I would imagine, a student or another individual. And as an academic director at a boarding school, there was some uncertainty on how to answer. I don't know. I don't remember who the question came from, but I think it's a really good question is what have you done? What would you suggest people do to be able to extend, grow up the ladder of experience and opportunity when it comes to gaining experience abroad?
I think this is a little difficult being in China because it's not just for one, you have the language barrier, especially if you want to break through a glass ceiling here, because you have to speak the language proficiently enough to communicate certain ideas, concepts. And if you don't, and I'm not saying you're screwed, I'm just saying it'll make it harder. And then additionally, there is the barrier of race. I would say being here, there is an obvious barrier of race, and I'm gonna be honest,
Please.
if it's not Chinese, they don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
You do not want it. They do not want you to sell it. They don't want you to put it out there. And it's not to say that they hate it or don't like it. It's just they want to promote their own thing, and that's great. I applaud that, but it also makes it harder for certain people to have an avenue to lead to success. And I think that for being in upper management or having your own business, you have to carve out that avenue yourself. You really have to get out there and hit the pavement and show why whatever you're trying to sell, whatever you're trying to promote, whatever you're trying to do is exceptional, and why it's made for the group or the audience it's made for.
I agree. Yeah.
I want to add to what Alan's saying. You also are going to have to carve out your own lane as well. Yep. Here, only because here the country is moving towards putting all the Emiratis in the key positions. So it doesn't give you a lot in terms of growth, especially if you're trying to go up the ladder. So learning the language is going to be key. Got to come and learn Arabic. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to go in the top senior level positions because they're looking for someone who's bilingual. So that, and I would say seek out community groups. There's so many expat groups where you can connect with individuals. So if you have an idea, you want to be an entrepreneur here, and there's a lot of opportunity here to be an entrepreneur, I would say that's the way to go. Yeah, I'm a member of many different groups. Some of them are meeting now in person, so I would recommend that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was just really quickly piggyback on what Gina and Alan said. Start your own thing, forget the ladder.
I love it.
Yeah.
Short, sweet, to the point.
The ladder was not made for you. There's another ladder over there that you have to, there's blocks you have to put together.
Like you got to put the bamboo together yourself.
Yeah.
all yourself. It's not. There's no instructions too.
Yeah.
Listen, I have a very unique perspective, obviously, with that I agree with everything all of y'all said. And when it comes to trying to promote in the different countries, I don't necessarily have an issue with them wanting to promote their own, right?
No.
There's a level of appreciation and acceptance. I don't know. I don't even know how to articulate what I'm thinking. I would just like it to be open, but it also means that, as each of you have said, whomever is trying to grow in that regard in academia, let's just say that for sure, you have to be intentional about knowing that you're not the center, right? English or whatever, the American way, the Western way is not centered in the communities that we're serving. Not saying that, Western education isn't important, because I think most schools know that, right? It is the most widely accepted and pathway to move forward. But culturally speaking, there has to be an appreciation from those trying to enter that space. I am, again, willing to learn the language. I am willing to be appreciative of the culture that I'm a visiting individual in if I want to move in this space. Like in America, it's more of, I don't like to say the melting pot, because that means that we lose our own individualism to create this whole. I think of it more as a salad bowl, right? We have this thing that we're creating, but we each get to keep our own individual identity, that acculturation that makes it that much more better, that, much more desirable. And so everybody else don't have to do that. So then creating your own thing, everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. It is not for the faint heart. There are so many days when I'm sitting down depressed, like, why am I doing this? But then I know, like, the message that I have is needed. And it's the gift that you have, somebody needs it. And it's going to look very different from everyone, right? But that doesn't mean that it's not to be put out there. So I think someone said about connecting in communities, seeking mentors, sitting down and writing out, what do you want, first of all? And how can you put that out into the world? And that does begin with having a self-belief. There's a lot of times where it's like, I don't know up from down, but there's skill there. So being able to have a good supportive community that's going to help you promote, that's not trying to drill holes in your boat without you knowing, that's going to be supportive,
right?
And vice versa. I know where we are in China, I'm not necessarily a fan of transactional relationships. I want to connect with people because I want to connect with people. And if we can help each other grow, let's do it. But it's really having an understanding of where you are and how people operate and the cultural customs. And if it's okay with your international job. I'm not even going to go into detail about the situation I've experienced, but I'm moving to a new school because of challenges that I'm experiencing where I currently am, that I don't have to put up with, right? And so it's knowing that you have options. So how do you exercise those? And community.
Can I add on to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Really quickly, what I think is important is when you said that all other groups support each other, I think is extremely important for us to support one another. That's why I'm so happy to be here on Black and Abroad, because this is an opportunity to meet like-minded people where we can support one another. Yeah. We all have different gifts, right? Not for money or whatever, but just to say, hey, can you do this? Sure. Let me help you in your business, because I'm the type of person, I'm having my own business too, but I'm like a cheerleader type. I like being in the team, and I like saying, hey, I can do this. Hey, you need this, I can do this. And I know that I really like to work, but I want us to support each other. I want to support my sisters and brothers. This is what it's about. And we really need to kind of get that together and strengthen that a whole lot more. and stop trying to compete.
Yeah.
There's no competition. We all have our own lanes. Let's just help each other out. And if we get together and lift each other up, that's when the world will treat us differently, because the world is basically a mirror of how we're treating each other. This is what I think. We don't support each other the way we need to. We cut each other down. We try to, stomp on each other's feet or whatever. It's like, no, you're doing this, I'm jealous. I'm going to take your idea and try to do it over here, instead of being just, let's help each other. Let's get it together.
Yeah.
And when the world sees that, that's how they will respond back to us. It's a mirror. So we have to kind of get it together first and stop hurting each other and start really, really supporting each other without expecting anything. Let's just rise. That's it.
Yes. Oh my God.
I agree with.
Go ahead, Alan.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I agree with Ronnie, and like, I think, you know what would I'd be so impactful, I think, for especially Americans abroad, especially Black Americans abroad, was this collective energy after the George Floyd incident. I never felt such a sense of community from like the Black people around me. And it's something like, I think as I got older, I just started to really realize, like, back when I was young, my mom would always say, like, you really need to support like Black individuals, because we always try to fight for the token spot. And that's not gonna, that can't work anymore. That's not gonna work anymore. There's no more token spots. It's either all of us or none of us. And that's how I think it should be. Because you can't just say, oh, there's only space for this one Black person, or there's only space for this one Black person. We all need to collectively realize, that if that wall isn't broken down for everyone to move and have safe passage through, then why even want to be in that door?
Yeah.
Or go through that door? Yeah.
I hear you. Like, there's this saying, many hands make light work, right?
Yeah.
We are a community chock full of skilled people. We come from skilled people. When we think about, and I hate to even bring up like slavery, but when we think of the transatlantic slave trade, I was an English teacher at one point, and my parents made a point of teaching us about history, but it didn't start there. It started with knowing that the people that died on the way, doctors, lawyers, midwives, folks that helped to move the culture forward. We didn't come from an oppressed type of culture. We are scientists, we are creators. We help to build people. So I'm fully on board with what y'all are saying. Like, how do we, some of us, and probably all of us at some points in our lives, get over ourselves and begin to engage in like that collective work to help each other move forward. And I just get so frustrated. I was even nervous to do Black and Abroad because I didn't know what the reception would be, especially focusing on mental health, right? Which I know as a professional needs to be the message. The message is never going to go away. We've always had mental health issues. It just looked different and we didn't have the resources. So now that we're in a space where we have access, we have resources, we have stories to tell, somebody had to provide the platform, right? And I was just like having like this kind of a crisis. I put this idea on the shelf for 6 to 9 months, and my mama was like, "So when you gonna do? Like, what you gonna do? Because you're gonna be in torment because you know it's in you, but you're not doing anything with it." I have so much to say. Go ahead.
Kendall, I, just because you remember I have to leave, I have to go into my class.
Yeah.
So Ronnie and Alan, I just want to just touch base on what you just mentioned. I agree that trying to channel the power of collaboration amongst the Black community especially has been important to me. And I'm also building a platform specifically for women, just because I think sometimes as women, we try to be too competitive with each other. And I always say, and the research is clear there, like the more women work together, the better off they will be.
Yes.
So I just want to say it's been wonderful. Kendall, thank you for giving us the space. Ronnie, I hope to connect with you, and Alan to connect with you soon. But I just want to say goodbye just because I have a class that started 15 minutes ago.
We'll get
Okay,
the,
Kendall,
we'll
see
get
you
the
soon.
information for your platform, but thank you, because we'll be talking
Definitely.
soon. Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Thank you, everyone. You too. Okay, have a good day, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So we are nearing, we have about a few more questions and we'll close out the session. One thing I would like to ask, we talked about maybe negative experiences. That's not necessarily the focus that I want for this particular session. But what I'd like to know, as I think we touched on this though, how can we continue to be better allies for our Black colleagues and coworkers? That's always a sensitive point.
Well, I mean, what I try to do is just hang out with them, you know, get to know them.
Yeah.
You know, it's really weird. I'm in Australia now, and I see, you know, African brothers and sisters. I'm not sure, you know, where they're from or whatever, but
Yeah.
one thing we don't do is like speak to each other. I don't know, maybe I don't know if this a US thing or what, but it's like, I don't like to pass a brother or sister without giving them a nod or, you know, what's up or something like that. And I don't like the fact that, you know, people just don't like speak. And that's like the culture here, but it shouldn't be our culture. So I don't know. I don't like that. Anyway, what I try to do is just meet people, talk to people, open up, and try to create friendships. That's all I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Alan?
I don't know. You know what? To say that, you know, I think ever since I moved here, I've just tried to be more mindful about promoting just like you, Kendall, and like we have like friends in common that has their own businesses. Some are artists, some are educators. I think my biggest thing is like just doing things like promoting whatever they're trying to do. Like you in your show Black Abroad, our other friend Alex, her Tatiana podcast, our other friends, like I said, who are artists, just like when they, hey, I have this thing, can you come? Can you also help donate like some proceeds to this? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like being like gung ho about these things and being like, what do you need me to do? And honestly, they're honestly asking just not a lot at all, just the bare minimum. Show up.
Yeah.
And then that's really important. Just show up and participate and show that we collectively are together on this is a lot.
Yeah.
Just having everyone together is a lot.
I agree. It's kind of like, what's the kind of support that I need, and whatever I need, I'm always willing to give, and not even giving it to you so that you can do something for me. That's not the way I was raised at all. But it's, again, if I'm talking about us being able to support each other, not in a transactional manner, but helping to spread the message, because when one wins, we all win, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
But doing my part. I was not raised to be one that is a talker and not a doer. My parents raised me to be both. If you have this message, do the work behind it. Let your work speak for you. But I would even say that connecting with other Black colleagues at work, sometimes I find that it can be a mixed bag. Because when I see Black people, I automatically want to connect, like just on GP, right? Just because we Black and we in this non-Black space, I want to see that we vibe. And the struggle that I found is we don't always vibe. What we want isn't always the same. And when it is, we got it. We hang out, we have fun, we connect, we do that silent, laugh, we kiki. But when it's not, I find that it's really heartbreaking and disappointing, because I've noticed that there are some people that like to be the only one. I ain't never been I don't want you to see me over anybody else. I want you to see all of us. Right. And
I would
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I know we're talking about mostly, I mean, we're talking about the Black experience abroad, but like, you just see those people they came here, and I'm particularly talking about Beijing, China. They came here for all the wrong reasons. And you can
A lot of
just
people are running for
identify them
stuff.
immediately, like like running for something and back home, or just avoiding something that they have to deal with maybe later in life. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I broke up with my ex and I just wanted to change, but like what you're doing here is like trying to do this, that, A, B, C, D. And I'm like, no. I can't be a part of that.
Yeah, I hear you. So it's kind of like, while I want to connect with others like myself, look like myself, everybody's mission, I'm not a savior, right? And it's,
No.
my mom said, I've been invoking my parents a lot. It's kind of like, while there's a desire to connect with one, everybody is not for you. And I think sometimes I've found it to be, again, a bit disappointing when our people aren't for us in these sometimes very anti-Black spaces. That adds a lot more distress and feelings of disconnection when working in these spaces that aren't necessarily built for individuals like us. So I always wonder, like, what does that look like? And I know I talk about anti-bias, being anti-Black, racial inclusion, DEI, and people that are not used to that. I know I get on their last nerve, which I will continue to do because it's about equity. Because the thing is, I'm sure a lot of our schools have some Black kids in them, and their needs are just as important as the local culture, right? Everybody's, if you really in international school. So I don't have the answer to it. It's just something that I always wonder about. How do we create safety for each other in these spaces? I don't know. Well, let me ask y'all this. We have just maybe 2 or 3 more questions. Let's say there's somebody that's interested in moving abroad to be an educator. I would say, what advice would you give them about being intentional about this process?
Okay, well, for me, before I left, I set the intention to be open, hang around people who are positive and who you vibe with. Don't set too many expectations, kind of go with the flow. Whatever you're interested in, like follow your curiosity.
Yeah.
And things will work out. You know, things will work out. Don't be fearful. Don't be fearful. Don't be fake. And people, just pay attention to your energy. That's the most important thing, I think. If you feel weird around someone, don't play with your gut. Like, that's your spirit guide telling you, get away from this person. Like, a lot of people, they'll be hanging with someone and they don't feel comfortable, but then they'll mentally kind of talk themselves out of it. Like, oh no, it's just this. It's like, no, that's your guide telling you what to do, and you're ignoring it, and you're going to be in trouble for it.
That intuition.
So really, like, and I think, like, when you're abroad, you really, well, for me anyway, I really just, that grew, that instinct, following my instinct. If something feels weird, I'm leaving you alone. We don't need to talk anymore. I don't care. You know, and that just gets stronger and stronger. So really, you learn to trust yourself when you're out here.
Yes, trust yourself and your judgment, for sure.
Yeah.
What would you say, Alan?
Honestly, if you're trying to be an educator, especially in China or in just any Asian country, particularly, know the school. Know the policies.
Yes.
Know it, do as much research as you can about the area you're living in and about like Beijing. I did my research about Beijing, about China, all of this. Still, I mean, it was helpful when I moved here, but like, there's still so much I didn't know. And then when I remember there's this app, for those who don't know, called WeChat or Weixin. that people used to communicate, buy things with, and it's like the all-encompassing app that everyone has. I didn't have that app until like I was in the consulate's office at Houston, waiting online. This guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey, you know, you need this," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure I don't need this," but I was like, "Yeah, I downloaded the app." He helped me download the app and like get it started. And I should have did better about that aspect because I read about it, but no, you need to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
City,
Yeah,
culture,
yeah.
school, all of that.
Yeah. I want to add to what both of y'all are saying. I think working abroad is an amazing opportunity for so many things, but I also believe that it's an opportunity not to be entered into blindly. As you're saying, do your research, identify the, you know, right people to connect with, but it's, you know, make sure you're doing it for you and
Yes.
not for somebody else. And again, like you do your research, you identify what are my goals with moving to this country, you know, and what can living my best life in this country look like? And am I going to this country because I'm looking to move in a particular direction in my life, or am I leaving something behind that I don't want to deal with? Because those perspectives are very different. When it comes to moving abroad, the way you move will be different. If you're moving for the presence of something, the presence of opportunity, peace, growth, financial independence, instead of running from fear, trouble, bad decisions, you know, things like that, unchecked mental health, family issues. Having a plan is really important. I am always amazed, you know, when people just pack up and leave and don't have a plan. And I'm just like, how do you do that? There has to be some level of psychological safety, knowing that wherever you go, you'll be okay. But that's not I don't think that's our experience, right?
Honestly, that's mostly white people. I mean, I'm not trying to say that, but I'm saying that. I'm gonna be honest.
I mean, I was
we have to research, we have to know, like, is this a safe place for us? How are we gonna be received? Like, we can't just be bouncing around here, there.
No, we have to be really intentional. What, like you said, what does safety statistics look like there? Is there a community, a thriving community of Black people? For, you know, like I said this earlier, I want to move to Portugal at some point. And I know lots of Black women that are there, professional Black women doing the dang thing. There is a growing community of expats that are really living their best lives. And it is it's one of the, I want to say like the number 3rd safest country, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just like, intentionality is key for anybody that is watching this. You can make your dream come true, but you have to be specific about what you're doing this for, because times will get challenging. My seasonal depression around November, Ronnie boycotting winter, and you know, let's just talk about like LGBTQ safety. Whatever your situation is, you want to know that you're moving to a place that is going to be accepting, for the most part, all of you, that it's a place that you're going to be able to grow and thrive and realize the goals that you're seeking. So I think it's open to everybody, but what's your motive, right? Let me ask you all this. When you think about your why, what is the reason that keeps you going? What's your why?
Okay, Alan, you want to go first or I'll go?
No, go ahead, Ronnie.
My why is because I must travel. Meeting people from different cultures, learning languages. I found myself through travel. I mean, I started making those short trips from the States, and it was like, I just was more sad each time I returned to the States. I was just like, no, I want to keep doing this. I want to just travel and I want to keep going with this. So I'm a nomad. That's why I do it. That's my why. I enjoy the struggles as well as, it's like, I think for me, I find my gifts through travel and this whole experience. I find out more about myself. And I'm not looking for an easy life. I'm looking for an interesting one. And this is my why. I love it.
You know, I'm writing these quotes
Man,
down,
Ronnie
right?
is, yeah, I was like, these bangers. She's just
I'm
be
using
turning
my
them
phone, so
out.
I can't type.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
can't type
fine,
it.
but you listen, you laying down the gems like, yes.
Like the bangers, the hits, like
Yes.
wait, the hits of Ronnie, man.
Thank you. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's something I must do.
Yes. I love it. What about you, Alan?
Honestly, I think that my why is because, well, so like I said, I'm earlier in the podcast, I'm going back to school. I wanted to get my master's, whether it be, so I'm applying to law schools as well as I'm applying for master's in like public administration, international relations. And I think my why is I want to make the world a more welcoming place for people like me. Not only people like me, like look like me or like identify as I identify, but like marginalized people who they don't have a space. And honestly, I don't know why that's always been inside my like soul to really make it like to carve out a space for everyone at the table. Because I've like when I was younger, I always felt like in America, especially when I started learning about politics, one of my heroes when I was growing up was Thurgood Marshall. Like when the first Black man to be appointed to the Supreme Court, and learning about his struggle. And then now we have Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, we don't claim
and Miss.
But now we got Ketanji.
Ketanji, yes, we have Ketanji, and seeing them, for the better sense of the word, providing or promoting like this sense of how do I say this? Bettering the community. This is like they're bettering community, not just for Black people, but for all people.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me. That is so like they're bettering not just Americans in America, but they're also bettering Americans abroad.
Yeah.
And even those people who want to be American. I think that's cool. Having like Ketanji on the like Supreme Court, now we can attack migrants and how we handle immigrants and how they become citizens in the US. I think that's important because for the longest time, especially under a certain administration, these people didn't have an avenue to be American citizens. Yep. And I think that's wild. Like America should be this place where if you want to come and if you want to be there, you should be able to be there.
I agree. One of the things that I hear often when I do these interviews, or I'm on Char's app, I want to pause for just a second, and I want to promote the expat app created by Char Winter. That is how Ronnie and I connected, and Gina and myself. I know Alan in Beijing, but she has created a space, this app that is a wealth of knowledge and resource and community for Black expats abroad. So my why, to promote the message of mental health in communities of color, primarily the Black community, utilize a gift that was given to me to share stories, to connect people, to create safe space, hold space for those who don't have the opportunity to be their full authentic selves. That is my why. So yes, we are going to end it with, can you all tell us what's the most, how have you grown the most? What has been the biggest growth opportunity for you while living abroad? And we'll close out with that.
I I guess. Okay, yeah, you go first, Alan.
Honestly, I've grown so much living abroad because, like we were discussing earlier, I don't have my family, my friends. I have to rely heavily on my chosen family here. But I've grown, one, financially independent. I've grown mentally, maturity wise. I've grown tremendously. God, I remember the first year I was here, I used to just drink, party, blah blah blah. Now my little old ass, I'm at home on
Well,
weekends.
you 30, you
I
are
don't,
not old.
wait, I just say, like, I mean, like, I don't want to go out past one. I just like, no, that one's not appealing to me. I'm going home. I'm going to my bed. God.
Exactly. So it sounds like you've learned to be comfortable where you are, right? And that all of this external stuff isn't needed for you to experience a good time.
No. I mean, like, not, I say that in the sense that, like you said, I do have these different things around me, but I don't need to, if they're unnecessary, I don't need to have them. If it's, or better yet, what my mom said, it's just not for me. If it was for me, it would come to me.
True.
It's not for me.
Yes. Thank you, Ronnie.
For me, there's been so many lessons, but one is to, I guess, depend on myself. Like when it comes to hair care, I don't do relaxers anymore. You have to figure it out. Like I had to figure it out or go bald. So just that, just knowing that I can just make anything happen and to have that independence, I can trust myself. That's like huge.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I didn't cook before and now I cook, since my China experience because I love the food so much. So I can cook some of it. Okay. So it's just, just language, trusting myself, knowing that I could be stripped of everything and dumped into a world where I don't know anything, and I'm able to like swim. Yeah. Like I can be thrown in the river, and I'll pick up and swim.
Yes.
So just that self-assurance that no matter what, I'll be all right.
Oh, I love it. I would say that what I've learned about myself is that self-assuredness, that no matter what people say, walk in my truth. Stand, being confident that the skills that I have will make room for me. I can survive in any situation, and that my voice matters. That
absolutely,
it may not be for everyone, but it is for someone, and to be able to learn to exercise a power that I've been granted in a way that is going to be beneficial for others and open the door for other people. So that is definitely how I've been able to grow from this particular experience. And as both of you have said, just trusting myself more. Like, this is an act of faith, like moving abroad, living in a whole nother country, having to fend for yourself, not having the comfort of my mama, dad, my sister. It's me. Nobody. And how do I create the world, the life that is meaningful to me? We all are so empowered to create a meaningful life. That is one of the most important ways that I think I've grown. I don't think I get it right every day, but I would definitely say that for sure. So I want to thank you all. And Gina, I know you had to leave, child, but I'm grateful. I want to thank you guys so much for such an in-depth conversation. It can go on for hours, but clearly my technology does not want that to happen today. So I definitely would like to do more of these things. If either of you are interested in doing a separate episode, please let me know. It's all about spreading the message, showing other people what's possible. And I want to definitely say, for everyone that's watching, thank you for spending this time with us today, for tuning into a special episode of Black and Abroad, Black Educators Abroad. I encourage you to keep taking risks, impacting your communities, and make sure, most importantly, that you prioritize your mental health. please go visit the YouTube channel and the podcast, like, share, subscribe, because as we've said through this episode, that is how we help one another, right? Let's spread the message so that we can help each other thrive. And with that, I want to say thank you, and we are going to close out. So peace.
Y'all have a good one. Enjoy your day.